The wagon burned behind her, orange flames licking at the darkening Arizona sky. Sarah Whitmore ran until her lungs screamed, stumbling over sage and stone, her wedding dress torn and bloodied. The Apache warriors had appeared like shadows at sunset, their war cries still echoing in her ears. Now she was alone in the desert, the screams of the other settlers fading into terrible silence. She pressed herself against a boulder, gasping, fingers fumbling with her mother's gold locket, the only thing of value she had left. Maybe she could trade it. Maybe someone would help her. The thought dissolved as strong hands seized her arms. Before we continue with Sarah's journey, I'd love to ask you to take a moment to subscribe to the channel and give this video a like. It truly means the world to us and motivates us to bring you more quality stories like this one. Also, I'm curious, where are you listening from right now? Let me know in the comments. She screamed, thrashing against the iron grip, but the Apache warrior lifted her effortlessly onto his painted horse. His face was hard plains and shadows, black hair streaming behind him as he rode. Sarah fought until exhaustion claimed her, and when she finally looked up, she met eyes as dark as midnight, eyes that held no cruelty, only a strange, quiet intensity. They rode for hours into the mountains. By the time they reached the Apache camp, Sarah's terror had crystallized into numb resignation. The warrior dismounted and pulled her down with surprising gentleness. Women emerged from wickiups, their faces curious but not hostile. The warriors spoke in rapid Apache to an elder, then turned to Sarah. "You speak English," she whispered, hating how her voice trembled. "I speak many tongues." His English was accented but clear. "I am Tazi. You are safe here." "Safe?" The word came out sharp with hysteria. "You attacked my wagon train. You—" "Not my men." His jaw tightened. "Hostile band, different clan. I saw the smoke, found you running." He gestured to the camp. "Here, you eat, rest, then decide." "Decide what?" "If you go back to your people, or stay." Sarah stared at him. "Why would I stay with savages who—" She stopped, seeing something flicker in his eyes. Not anger, hurt. An older woman approached, speaking softly to Tazi. He nodded and turned back to Sarah. "Desbo will give you food. A place to sleep. You are not prisoner." He paused, his gaze holding hers. "You are not property. You are a person." The words shouldn't have meant anything, but they settled into her chest like stones in still water. The days that followed were strange and disorienting. Sarah expected brutality and found instead a community that worked with practiced efficiency. The women taught her to grind corn, to tan hides, though they laughed at her clumsy attempts. Tazi kept his distance, but she felt his eyes on her. Not possessive, but watchful, protective. On the fourth night, she found him sitting alone by the fire, sharpening his knife. The flames cast copper light across his muscled arms, the scars that told stories she couldn't read. "Why did you bring me here?" Sarah asked, lowering herself to sit across from him. The question had been burning in her chest since that first night. Tazi's hands stilled on the blade. "The men who attacked your wagon, they would have killed you, or worse." His eyes met hers. "I saw you running, saw your courage." He set the knife aside. "I see a woman worth saving." "I was running terrified." "You were running toward life, not surrender." The firelight danced in his eyes. "That is bravery." Something shifted in her chest. "I don't understand you." "You will." It wasn't arrogance. It was certainty. The next morning, Tazi found her struggling to mount one of the camp horses. Without a word, he approached, his presence solid and warm behind her. "May I?" She nodded, her breath catching as his hands circled her waist. He lifted her onto the horse with effortless strength, then swung up behind her. "You need to know this land if you survive here," he said, his breath warm against her ear. "I teach you to ride, to track, to see what the desert tells you." The first lesson nearly killed her pride. The horse, a spirited chestnut mare named Windrunner, seemed to sense Sarah's inexperience and tested her at every turn. Within an hour, Sarah had been thrown twice, her backside bruised and her temper frayed. Tazi sat on his paint horse, watching with what she was certain was amusement hidden behind that stoic expression. "This is impossible," Sarah gasped, brushing dust from her borrowed buckskin dress. "I'll never learn." "You learn?" He dismounted in one fluid motion and walked to where she stood. "But first, you must understand the horse. She does not serve you. You work together. She hates me. She tests you." Tazi's hand settled on her shoulder, warm and steadying. "Like the desert tests, like life tests, you show her your strength, but also your respect." He guided her back to Windrunner, his hands covering hers as they stroked the mare's neck. The horse's muscles twitched beneath Sarah's palm. Powerful and alive. Feel her breath, her heartbeat. Tazi's voice was low, almost hypnotic. "She is not a thing. She is a spirit, like you. Proud, strong, afraid of being controlled." Sarah's eyes stung unexpectedly. "I'm not afraid of being controlled." "You ran from a forced marriage, yes?" His dark eyes met hers with understanding that cut too deep. "You know what it is to have others decide your path. Windrunner was captured from wild herd. She knows too." The mare's large brown eye fixed on Sarah, and something passed between them. Recognition, perhaps. Kinship. "What do I do?" Sarah whispered. "Show her you understand. Show her you choose freedom together." This time, when Sarah mounted, she moved differently, slower, with intention rather than desperation. Windrunner's ears flicked back, listening. Sarah leaned forward, pressed her cheek to the horse's neck. "I know," she murmured. "I know what it's like. But we can be strong together. We can choose our own way." The mare's breathing steadied. When Sarah gently squeezed her knees, Windrunner walked forward, not because she was forced, but because she chose to. Tazi's rare smile was worth every bruise. The second week brought new challenges. Tazi took Sarah into the high desert before dawn, the world still purple and cold. He taught her to read tracks in the dust, the delicate prints of rabbits, the dragging tail mark of lizards, the distinctive pattern of deer hooves. "Your people see empty land," he said, crouching beside a cluster of marks in the sand. "We see stories. This pronghorn passed at sunset yesterday. She has a fawn. See the smaller prints? She moves toward water." Sarah knelt beside him, studying the tracks. Their shoulders touched, and she was acutely aware of the warmth radiating from his body in the cool morning air. "How do you know it was sunset?" "The sand here holds shape from evening moisture. By noon, the wind smooths everything." His finger traced the path. "See how the prints deepen on the left? She favors the right leg. Old injury, maybe. You can see all that?" "I see what the land tells me." He turned to look at her, his face close enough that she could count the faint scars on his jaw. "Like I see you are afraid I will judge you for not knowing these things." Heat crept up her neck. "I feel foolish. You know so much, and I—" You know different things. You read English words. You know music. I hear you sing sometimes when you work. You know medicine plants from your world that I do not. His hand covered hers in the sand. Knowledge is not competition, Sarah. It is gift we share. She stared at their hands, his calloused and scarred, hers smaller and pale against the red earth. When had she stopped fearing his touch? When had she started craving it? "Teach me more," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. His fingers tightened on hers. "I teach you everything you wish to know." The third week brought fire. Sarah woke to shouting and the acrid smell of smoke. She stumbled from her wickiup to find the entire camp mobilized, a brush fire racing down the mountain, driven by fierce winds. The flames painted the night sky orange and terrible. Tazi appeared through the chaos, soot already streaking his face. "We fight the fire here, save the camp. You help move the children and elders to the canyon." "I can help fight." "Sarah." His hands gripped her shoulders. "The children need someone calm, someone they trust. You have become this person. Please." She wanted to argue, to prove she was strong enough for anything, but a little girl ran past, crying for her mother, and Sarah understood. This was the fight he needed her to take. For hours, Sarah guided the youngest and oldest away from danger, her voice steady even as her heart raced. She told stories to calm frightened children, helped an elder woman carry her precious belongings, organized water and food in the safe zone. All the while, she watched the distant figures silhouetted against the flames, searching for one particular warrior. When dawn finally came, the fire was contained. The warriors returned, blackened and exhausted. Sarah counted them frantically. 20, 23, 25. Tazi stumbled into the canyon last, supporting a younger warrior whose leg was badly burned. Sarah ran to them, her hands already reaching to help. "Where's the medicine woman?" she demanded, guiding the injured man to sit. "Treating others," someone said. "Many burns." Sarah's nursing training from her brief time at a missionary school came flooding back. "I need clean water, honey if we have it, aloe. Does that grow here?" "Yes," Desba said, appearing with supplies. "You know healing?" "Some." Sarah's hands moved with certainty as she cleaned the burn. The warrior hissed in pain, and Tazi knelt beside him, gripping his shoulder. "Brave, my brother," Tazi murmured. "She has gentle hands." Sarah worked quickly, her fear for Tazi channeling into focus. When she'd bandaged the worst of the burns, she finally turned to him. "You're hurt." She saw it now, the angry red burn across his forearm, the way he held it stiffly. "It is nothing." "It's not nothing. Sit down." For a moment, she thought he'd argue. Then exhaustion and pain won, and he sat. Sarah knelt before him, carefully cleaning the burn. Her hands trembled slightly as she worked, and she knew it wasn't from fatigue. "You were magnificent today," Tazi said quietly, "leading the people to safety, caring for the wounded. You have a warrior's heart." "I was terrified." She smoothed cooling aloe across his skin, trying to be gentle. "When I couldn't see you in the smoke," her voice broke. His uninjured hand caught hers. "I am here." "You could have died." "I did not. But you could have." She looked up, meeting his eyes. "And I realized that the words stuck in her throat, too big and too frightening. "That I would have grieved. Sarah." The way he said her name was like a prayer. "I would burn 1,000 times to keep you safe." The air between them felt charged, like the moment before a lightning strike. Sarah's heart hammered against her ribs. She was suddenly aware of how close they were, of his breath on her face, of the way his eyes dropped to her lips. "I should check on the others," she whispered, but she didn't move. "Yes," he agreed, but his hand tightened on hers. Neither of them moved. The fourth week brought a test of a different kind. A delegation arrived from a neighboring Apache band, a chief and his warriors seeking alliance against the encroaching cavalry. Among them was a woman named Isha, beautiful and confident, who clearly knew Tazi well, too well. Sarah told herself she had no claim to him. They'd shared no promises, no declarations beyond growing friendship and these moments of almost intimacy that left her breathless and confused. But when Isha touched Tazi's arm with easy familiarity, laughing at something he said in Apache, Sarah's chest tightened with something she refused to call jealousy. Desba noticed, of course. The older woman missed nothing. Isha was promised to Tazi once, she said casually as they prepared food for the evening feast, before his wife died. Sarah's hands stilled on the corn she was grinding. His wife? You did not know? Desba's eyes were kind, but assessing. Tazi was married 5 years ago. She died bringing their child into the world. The baby, too. The corn grinder clattered from Sarah's numb fingers. Tazi had lost a wife, a child. That shadow she sometimes saw in his eyes, it was grief. He loved her very much, Desba continued. After she died, he said he would never marry again, said his heart was buried with her. She paused. Until you. We're not. Child, I am old. I see what grows between you. Desba's hand covered Sarah's. But you must understand. Isha's family hopes she will change his mind. They are powerful. Alliance through marriage would be good for our people. Sarah felt sick. Then he should marry her. For his people. Should he? Desba's gaze was sharp. Or should he follow his heart as you did when you chose to stay? That evening, Sarah watched Tazi and Isha talk by the fire. They looked right together. Both Apache, both understanding the same world, the same language, the same struggles. What could Sarah offer him except complications? She was an outsider, a white woman in an Apache world. Her presence might even endanger his people. She slipped away from the feast, walking into the desert until the laughter faded behind her. The stars were brilliant overhead, indifferent to human pain. You run again. She spun to find Tazi behind her, his face unreadable in the starlight. I'm not running. I just needed air. You lie poorly. He moved closer. What troubles you? Nothing. Sarah, he waited, patient as the mountains. She couldn't hold it in. Desba told me about your wife, your child. I'm so sorry, Tazi. I can't imagine. No. His voice was rough. You cannot. That pain, he stopped. I thought I died with them. Thought my heart was buried in the earth. Maybe it should be Isha who brings it back. The words tasted like ashes. She's Apache. She understands your world. An alliance marriage would help your people. You are just everything. He closed the distance between them, his hands framing her face. You think I do not see what you do? You think I do not notice that you make the children laugh? That you learn our ways with respect? That you fight to understand our language even when the words tangle your tongue? Tazi, Isha is a good woman, but she is not you. She does not make my dead heart beat again. She does not make me want to see tomorrow. His forehead pressed to hers. I thought I could not love again. I was wrong. Sarah's breath caught. You're saying, I love you, Sarah Whitmore. I love your courage and your stubborn pride. I love how you see me, not as a savage, not as a noble warrior, but as a man. Just a man who wants, his voice broke, who wants to be loved in return. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I do love you. I have for weeks, but I was afraid. He kissed her, and it was nothing like the chaste brushes of lips they'd shared before. This was desperate and deep. 4 weeks of longing compressed into one perfect moment. Sarah's hands fisted in his shirt, pulling him closer, and his arms banded around her like he'd never let go. When they finally broke apart, both gasping, Tazi rested his forehead against hers. "I cannot promise easy life," he said. "My people face hard times. War comes, suffering comes. I don't need easy." Sarah's hands cupped his face. "I just need you. Together." "Together," he agreed, and kissed her again under the indifferent stars that suddenly seemed to shine brighter. The 5th week brought the promise of heaven and the shadow of hell. Tazi began courting her properly, in the Apache way. He brought her flowers that grew in hidden canyons, taught her the names of stars in his language, spent every moment he could spare at her side. The camp buzzed with speculation and approval. Even Isha, gracious in defeat, wished them well before her delegation departed. Sarah felt like she was floating, drunk on love and possibility. She and Tazi talked for hours by the fire, sharing their pasts and dreaming of their futures. He told her about his childhood, about his father's wisdom and his mother's songs. She told him about growing up in a strict missionary household, about the books she'd loved and the life she'd imagined before being promised to a cruel man she'd never met. "If you had not run, if I had not found you," Tazi mused one night, his arm around her shoulders as they watched the sunset paint the desert gold, "we never would have met." "Strange how terrible things can lead to beautiful ones," Sarah said, snuggling closer to his warmth. "The universe has a plan. My mother believed this." His hand stroked her hair, gentle and reverent. "Maybe you were always meant to be here, with me." "I believe that too. But belief," Sarah was about to learn, "couldn't stop bullets. The attack came at dawn. Not cavalry, bandits, the same ones who had raided settler wagons, now seeking Apache horses and weapons. They struck fast and brutal, firing into wickiups, scattering horses. Sarah woke to screams and gunfire. Tazi was already moving, grabbing his rifle and knife. "Stay down," he commanded, but she was already reaching for the pistol he'd taught her to shoot. "Together," she said fiercely. For just a moment, pride and fear warred in his eyes. Then he nodded. "Together. But you stay behind me." They fought like the camp had never fought. Men, women, even older children who could shoot. Sarah's hands shook as she aimed and fired, but her shots found their marks. She saw Tazi moving like a force of nature, protecting the weak, rallying the warriors. Then she saw the bandit creeping up behind him, rifle raised. Sarah didn't think. She ran, screaming Tazi's name. She slammed into him just as the rifle cracked, and white-hot pain exploded through her shoulder. She hit the ground hard, her vision swimming. Heard Tazi's roar of rage, the sounds of a brief, brutal fight. Then his hands were on her, frantically checking her wound. "No, no, no." His voice was raw with panic. "Sarah, stay with me." "Just my shoulder," she gasped, though the pain was making the world tilt. "Is it over?" "The bandits flee, but you are hurt. You." His hands trembled as he pressed cloth to her shoulder. "You saved my life. Told you, together. You foolish, brave woman." He lifted her carefully, and she bit back a scream. "I have you. I will not let you go." The next hours were a blur of pain and fevered darkness. Sarah woke in snatches, once to find Desba changing her bandages, once to hear Tazi arguing with someone in rapid Apache, once to feel his hand gripping hers like a lifeline. When she finally surfaced fully, weak but clear-headed, she found him sleeping in a chair beside her bed, his head pillowed on his arms near her hand. He looked exhausted, dark circles under his eyes, his hair tangled. "Tazi," she whispered. He jerked awake instantly, his eyes finding hers. "Sarah, thank the spirits. You were the fever, I thought." He couldn't seem to finish any sentence, his usual calm completely shattered. "I'm okay." She tried to sit up and immediately regretted it. "Ow, do not move." He was beside her in an instant, helping her settle back. "The bullet went through. Clean wound, but you lost much blood. Desba says you will heal, but you must rest." "How long have I been?" 3 days. 3, Tazi, you should have. I leave your side for nothing." His hand cupped her face with infinite gentleness. "You nearly died for me. Do you understand? You could have." His voice broke. Sarah's good hand covered his. "But I didn't. I'm here. We're both here. Because you were reckless and brave and—" He leaned down, pressing his forehead to hers. "And I love you so much I cannot breathe when I think of losing you." "Then don't lose me." She managed a weak smile. "Marry me instead." He pulled back, his eyes wide. "Sarah, I know it's bold. I know women aren't supposed to. But I almost died, and life is too short for waiting. I love you. I want to spend whatever time we have together. So will you marry me, Tazi?" For a long moment, he just stared at her. Then his face broke into the widest smile she'd ever seen, transforming him from severe warrior to joyful man. "Yes," he said. "Yes, 1,000 times. But you must promise me something. Anything. Promise you will never again throw yourself in front of bullets meant for me." She considered. "I promise to try very hard not to." "Sarah, that's the best I can do." She grinned despite the pain. "You're stuck with a reckless woman, I'm afraid." He kissed her, careful of her injury, and his tears mixed with hers. "I am blessed with a warrior woman," he corrected. "And I will spend my life being worthy of her courage." That night, Sarah couldn't sleep. She wandered to the edge of camp and found Tazi standing beneath a canopy of stars, so brilliant they seemed close enough to touch. The Milky Way stretched overhead like a river of light. "Can't sleep?" he asked without turning. Too much thinking. She moved to stand beside him, wrapping her shawl tighter against the mountain cold. "I keep wondering why you're being kind to me." "Your people and mine, we're enemies. Are we?" He turned to face her, moonlight silvering his features. "Or are we just people who never tried to see each other? The soldiers say, the soldiers take our land, kill our families, push us into smaller and smaller spaces." His voice was quiet, but fierce. "We fight to survive. But I do not hate all white people. I hate injustice." Sarah thought of the settlers' endless complaints about savage Indians, never once asking why the Apache fought, never once considering what had been taken from them. Shame heated her face. "I'm sorry," she whispered, "for what my people have done." Tazi's expression softened. He reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away, and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. His fingers lingered against her cheek. "You are not your people. You are Sarah, and Sarah has a good heart." She leaned into his touch before she could stop herself. "Tazi, Something split the night. Warriors scrambled from their wickiups as a scout galloped into camp, his horse lathered and wild-eyed. Tazi, hand dropped from Sarah's face as he strode forward, barking questions in Apache. The scout's response made every warrior reach for their weapons. "What is it?" Sarah asked, fear coiling in her stomach. Tazi turned, his face grim. Cavalry. 20 soldiers. They follow tracks, your tracks from the attack. They come here. No. Sarah's blood went cold. The soldiers would see her as a hostage. They would attack. People would die. I have to go to them. Tell them I'm safe. They will not listen. Tazi's jaw was set. They see Apache camp. They attack. Then I'll go before they arrive. I'll meet them on the trail. Too dangerous. Alone in the desert at night. More dangerous than a massacre? Sarah grabbed his arm. Please, let me try. I can't let anyone die because of me. Something passed between them. Understanding, respect, and something deeper that made her heart ache. Finally, Tazi nodded. I go with you, together. That word, it settled into her bones like a promise. They rode out under the stars, Tazi on his paint horse and Sarah on a gentle mare. The desert was silver and strange in the moonlight, alive with sounds she'd learned to recognize. The yip of coyotes, the whisper of wind through sage, the distant call of an owl. They found the soldiers camped in a canyon, their fires bright against the darkness. Sarah's stomach clenched at the sight of blue uniforms, at the familiar language drifting on the wind. For weeks, she'd dreamed of rescue. Now all she felt was dread. I'll go alone, she told Tazi. They'll shoot you on sight. I will not let you walk into danger without protection. You can't protect me from this. She turned in her saddle to face him. In the moonlight, his features were stark and beautiful. But you have protected me. In every way that matters, you've shown me strength I didn't know I had. Sarah, promise me you'll stay back. Please. His hand covered hers on the reins. I promise, but I watch. If they try to harm you, they won't. She hoped she was right. Sarah rode down into the canyon alone, her hands raised. The soldiers scrambled up, rifles trained on her chest. Don't shoot! I'm Sarah Whitmore. I was taken from the wagon train attack 3 weeks ago. A lieutenant pushed forward, his face a mixture of relief and suspicion. Miss Whitmore, we thought you were dead. Where are your captors? Gone. The lie tasted bitter. They left me in the desert. I've been wandering for days. The lieutenant's eyes narrowed. You look well fed for someone wandering the desert. Your clothes are clean. Indian-made. Her heart pounded. They fed me before they released me. I'm telling you, I'm alone. Search the area, the lieutenant barked. There's an Apache camp near here. We'll find them and... No, the word came out too sharp, too desperate. There's no one. I'm telling you, you're protecting them. The lieutenant's face hardened. They've made you sympathetic. It happens to hostages. But don't worry, Miss Whitmore. We'll handle this. You don't understand. Men, mount up. We ride for that camp at dawn. Sarah's blood turned to ice. She'd failed. She'd made everything worse. A rifle shot cracked through the canyon. The soldiers dove for cover as riders poured from the rocks. Not Apache warriors, but white men with bandanas covering their faces. Outlaws. The lieutenant swore. Ambush. Return fire. Chaos erupted. Sarah's horse reared, and she hit the ground hard. The wind knocked from her lungs. Bullets whined overhead. She crawled toward cover. Her ears ringing, and then strong hands seized her. One of the outlaws. His breath reeked of whiskey as he dragged her behind a boulder. Well, well, what do we have here? A pretty little... An arrow sprouted from his shoulder. He screamed and dropped her. Tazi materialized from the shadows like an avenging spirit, his face a mask of controlled fury. He moved with lethal grace, his knife flashing as he cut down the outlaw reaching for Sarah. Another warrior appeared, then another, Apache fighters moving like ghosts through the gunsmoke. The outlaws fled into the night, leaving 2 dead behind. The soldiers held their fire, confused and wary, as Tazi pulled Sarah to her feet. "Are you hurt?" His hands moved over her arms, her shoulders, checking for wounds. "Did they? I'm fine." She was trembling. "You came, you promised to stay back." "I watch. I see danger, I come." His eyes blazed. "You think I let you face this alone? You think I let anyone take you?" The lieutenant approached slowly, his rifle lowered but ready. "You're Apache. I am Tazi, son of Cochise." He kept himself between Sarah and the soldiers. "These men," he gestured to the dead outlaws, "they follow your tracks. Wait to ambush you. We watch. We save your lives." The lieutenant's jaw worked. "And the woman?" "She was taken by the Apache against her will," Sarah said quietly, meeting Tazi's eyes as she spoke the words that had defined her capture. Yet under the night sky, she captured his heart. The world seemed to still. Tazi's hand found hers, his fingers lacing through hers with absolute certainty. "Is this true?" the lieutenant demanded. "You're choosing to stay with them?" Sarah looked at the soldiers, representatives of her world, her people, everything familiar. Then she looked at Tazi, the man who had seen her not as property, but as a person, who had taught her strength and shown her a different way to live. "Yes," she said, "I'm choosing to stay." The lieutenant's face darkened. "Miss Whitmore, I can't force you to return, but if you stay with the Apache, you're considered a traitor to your people." "Then I'm a traitor." She squeezed Tazi's hand. "Because my people are wherever I choose them to be." The soldiers left at dawn, their horses kicking up dust as they rode from the canyon. Sarah stood with Tazi's arm around her shoulders, watching them disappear. "You give up everything," Tazi said quietly. "Your world, your people. For me? For us." She turned in his arms. "For a life where I'm not property, where I'm seen, where I'm loved." He cupped her face in his scarred hands. "Sarah, I love you. From the moment I saw you running toward life, I knew. You have warrior spirit. You have heart that sees past hate to truth. I love you." The words felt like freedom. "I love your strength and your gentleness. I love how you see me. I love—" He kissed her, tender and fierce and full of promise. When they broke apart, both breathless, he pressed his forehead to hers. "Together?" he whispered. "Together." The wedding ceremony was simple but beautiful. Under the same star-filled sky where Sarah had first seen past her fear to the man beneath, they spoke their vows. Tazi's people celebrated with drums and dancing, and Sarah wore a dress made by Desba, white doeskin decorated with intricate beadwork that caught the firelight like captured stars. When Tazi lifted her in his arms that night, carrying her to their wickiup, she saw the boy who'd lost his mother to soldiers, the warrior who'd fought for his people's survival, and the man who'd chosen love over bitterness. "Go slow," she whispered as he laid her on the blankets, her heart racing. "I've never—" "I know." He kissed her forehead, her cheeks, her lips with infinite tenderness. "I'll die before I hurt you, Sarah. We take this at your pace, together." And they did. Together they built a life in the mountains. Together they navigated the tensions between 2 worlds. Together they raised children who knew both Apache and English, who understood that strength came in many forms. Sarah never forgot the woman she'd been, running terrified through the desert, convinced her life was over. She'd been taken against her will. But in the end, she'd chosen to stay. Chosen love. Chosen a life that honored both courage and compassion. On quiet nights, when the stars blazed overhead and Tazi held her close, she remembered that first night in camp. The way he'd looked at her and said, "You are not property, you are a person." It was the truth that had set her free, the truth that had led her home. 10 years later, Sarah stood on the ridge overlooking their settlement, a place where Apache and sympathetic settlers lived in careful peace. Her daughter played nearby. Her son practiced with his bow. Tazi approached from behind, his arm circling her waist. "Do you ever regret it?" he asked, his chin resting on her shoulder. "Leaving your world?" Sarah leaned back into his warmth, into the steady strength that had been her anchor through every storm. "I didn't leave my world. I found it." He turned her in his arms, and the love in his eyes still made her breath catch. Some journeys began in fear and ended in joy. Some captivities led to the truest freedom. Some hearts, captured against all odds, beat strongest together. Thank you so much for listening to this story. I'd love to know where you're enjoying this tale from. Are you listening at home, during your commute, or perhaps while working? Please subscribe to the From Wild West channel and share your thoughts in the comments below. What did you think of Sarah and Tazi's journey? Your feedback means the world to us.